So here I have an older gelding who really, he's had a couple issues in the past. He's been started by somebody else, but he is just always on the lookout. He's always very alert, very jumpy. And he struggles to, what I found over working with him is that he struggles to trust anybody. And so going back and doing some basics, and one of the things I decided to do, this is over 2 days worth, but just, getting him used to that lunge whip and making sure that he's not super afraid of it. And as you can see, he's not super concerned about it, but he still isn't fully trusting of it. In this first portion of the video, I sped it up quite a bit. I didn't leave anything out. You see what you see. Sometimes he does kind of shy away from that whip, but I sped it up so that it doesn't take as long. It took over 20 minutes for him to just kind of relax and get used to it. And then the second part of the video, which is actually very short in relation to what it was the first day, he was a lot more accepting of it. And so what I basically wait for is I start by just kind of walking around, as you could see in the very beginning, making the whip make some noises, walking around, letting him follow it, because if you go towards them at first, they think it's super scary. So always go, let them follow that whip. And sometimes they will jump and leap and go sideways, and I'll try to find a different horse that might do that in the future. But then I start, kind of behind me, as you can see there, and slowly bring it to their side. If they can't handle that, I'm not going to go forward anymore. And I'm sure not going to put it up over their back. And so I'm waiting for him to just kind of accept that, lick his lips, drop his head, that sort of thing. And like I said, some of this, it takes him a long time to accept that, 20 minutes for just one side. And there he kind of licked his lips a little bit, but he had some major trust issues coming in. And so, going backwards, like I said, and figuring out where he needed to, reestablish those trust issues, that's what he needed to have work on. And yes, even though he's about an 18-year-old gelding, there is nothing wrong with going backwards and reiterating and regaining some trust in these older horses. Just because they're older doesn't mean that they don't have some issues or some problems that come up, especially if somebody didn't take the time to start them or to work with them like what he needed. And I think that's been a big issue for him. And so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to wait. And there might be horses walk by. There might be the wind blowing some feed sacks. Dogs or cats might come in and out. Chickens might come in and out. And that's fine. Sometimes you got to go back. And if he doesn't, relax or breathe, they'll let a big sigh out. Right there you saw where I kind of redid it again. Flip the whip a little bit, flip it up over his back, and then back down, just to kind of see, because he did get distracted for a little bit. And I'll reiterate and just say, hey, we're still working on this one concept. If you need more time to think about it, that's fine. But, come back and pay attention to me. And I don't want to be, you can look and look away, but, trying to get them to come back and focus on you so that they realize that's what they need to do and not look off all over the place. I will let them look off. You can tell he's looking. They're slacking my lead rope. I'm not pulling him or anything like that. It was a little nicer today, so he was kind of swatting at some flies. It's February in southern Oklahoma, and it's amazing that the flies come out, for a day or two and then go back in hiding. But I'm just going to wait. I'm just waiting on him to kind of chill and relax and let me know what he needs. And this is a long waiting process. I mean, if you can sit there and wait for them to kind of realize, oh, it's not that bad. And in this guy's case, he had been pushed and pushed and pushed to the max to where he was pretty blown up. He had no trust in people, and in that case, you just have to go backwards. Just go backwards to some basics, groundwork, that sort of thing. And then you can go forward again. And in this Geldon's case, he's blown up, but he's also shut down at the same time. Like there's some points where he will just close his eyes and kind of not pin his ears, but he just kind of sets his ears back and he just tries to shut out the world. He just kind of, you know, because he's had so much pushing in the past that he can't handle it. And his way of getting around it is he shuts down and then he will explode. And so he can only handle so much. So that's why we've gone backwards to see, okay, let's get him trusting again. Let's get him so we can go forward by going backwards. Because clearly the going forward is not working. And he's trying, you know, you kind of watch him. It's hard to see because it's further away. But, you know, watching him up close, like he's kind of coming closer to me. I remember like his nose would kind of crinkle up a little bit. He would quiver, you know, his muscles around his nostrils and his mouth, they would quiver a little bit. You know, he's trying to process. He's trying to say, what is it that you need from me? And that's usually him trying, any horse, that's usually that horse trying to process what needs to be done or not done. You know, can they trust you through this? Are you going to help them through this? And that's exactly what he needs, is someone to take the time with him to make sure that he's not going to, you know, be pushed to where he can't handle it. There, he finally licks his lips, and it's pretty significant. I mean, he sits there and he just licks his lips and takes a deep sigh, and that was where I stopped right there. And so this is the next day, picking up on it again, and doing the same thing. Start over from the beginning. You know, just kind of go in a circle, let him follow that or that lunge whip. Sorry. You know, realize that it's not going to hurt him. And this day, he was a lot better. He took it a lot better. And he relaxed a lot faster. Like I said, it took over 20 minutes that first day for him to do just one side. And so today, you know, I got to flip it up over his back a couple times there in a row. And he was like, oh, okay. That wasn't so bad. I don't got to move away. I get it. And there you can see he almost immediately licked his lips, dropped his head a little bit. You know, he's not shutting down. He's not holding it inside. He's starting to process it a lot more. And that's fantastic. That's great. So then I go to the other side, because we didn't do the other side the day before. We just did the one side the previous day. And you can see he's a little more leery. He's a little more, I don't know about this. And that's fine. But it's still the same steps. It's still letting him follow that versus me. And I'm going to start off up in front of him and see how he handles it first. And sometimes they can transfer things from one side to the other side. And sometimes they can't. And in this case, he did pretty good. He didn't freak out. He didn't move away right away. I flung it up once. And then I sat there and I just waited. It did take him a little bit. It wasn't as immediate as the other side. But because And there he licks his lips a little bit. But because we had taken the time yesterday, or the day before, to work through it, and we waited so long on the one side, he could process it for both sides easier. And so you can break this down even further to what you need to do for a horse. You may not get it up over their back the first day, but this is just a real basic of what you can do.